Looking for the two pieces. Moments of Light with Toro the Decoder. After having worked in and visited many places that year, I ended up with my older brother at a place called the Jewel. At age 30, I had come here to find my last two missing pieces of my life cake: a long-term relationship and long-term job. In my eyes, I had experienced everything else. I had had a great childhood, great parents who encouraged me to do things out of the box. I had been the popular boy in town, good at sports and organizing events, had a discotheque, and had been part of writing tennis instruction books and directed instruction movies for the TV. I had traveled all over the world, having professional skills that allowed me to do this, being a massage therapist, sports and tennis coach. I had lived the rich man's life with all its comforts. I had owned tennis schools, and I had lived life every day as if there were no tomorrow. I had also experienced poverty, being bankrupt and sick like a dog, and lived even with refugees, and all had been great adventures and experiences. We rented a big apartment, and I was straight away busy creating some advertisement to start a long-term business. During the day I went to the beach, played tennis, and in the evening visited restaurants and bars to see if a woman would show up to start a long-term relationship with. After one evening, having had enough rich foods and drinks, I woke up in the morning, finding myself sitting next to my bed. I didn't recall a dream, was confused, but very happy at the same time, and was confronted with more unfamiliar new things. The taste for cigarettes, alcohol and animal food substances had disappeared, but even more strange was, it felt as if time had stopped or slowed down. That day so many other unusual things happened. I had looked in the mirror and always had had a smile on my face, but this smile was now even bigger, and my eyes were clear as crystals. I had left the apartment for a bit and walked around, but had come back disappointed, not having seen or caught some other smile face with light in the eyes. The story would be too long to write all the details down, but I ended up on a path to free the soul or spirit within, something everlasting from beyond the world of form and words, to be part of an adventure and process to free it so it could reunite with its source. This was the happy ending of every story that in disguise revealed this marriage of real love, a relationship forever, and where they happily lived ever after, and thus forever. Without ever even thought about a spiritual path or anything of that nature, many years later it came to me that I had been put onto this eternal relationship adventure, and that my job was, through inner silent prayer and meditation, to get me out of the way. Here was my lifelong relationship and job. Here were the two missing pieces, but they had nothing to do with me, although the journey starts within this human body, which I was for that reason to keep as healthy as possible, and the mind slowly assisting to change from focusing on mortal and worldly things to be replaced by tuning in to the everlasting stream of light and sound, the stream that connected the soul and the divine, and to do that through inner silent prayer and meditation, and to go within. The guide who was behind all of this showed up in my life and is still guiding me up to today, if I am aware of it or not. And in addition, I started to write to keep myself going, to stay awake and aware. This awakening needed for me to become practical with every thought word and deed, and saw this ongoing transformation being a gift, like everything was a gift. I had come without anything and would leave without anything. 40 years later, after having lived a fulfilling life, a life full with adventures and challenges, and feeling of having lived 3 lives in one, a life that I thought I had had already 40 years ago, I ended up at the same area. This time there were no real desires or directions on the outside anymore, but a real confrontation in regards the two pieces, the long-term job and relationship. I have to rephrase that I thought that I had no desires and directions, because the mind always comes up with something, but I was aware, however, that none of these worldly and mortal connections would bring peace, contentment, and most likely ending up in suffering in one way or another. Life in the world of duality bound to time and constantly changing is created that nothing will last or works out as we would like. The confrontation of having received my wish with the two missing pieces of the cake became this time more intense than ever before. I had already faced death, and these two pieces had become my real lifeline. By repeating this inner and silent prayer during the day as much as possible and sitting for meditation. It had been a blessing because they helped me to go through pain and then being free of pain, which did happen in a way, but I didn't die. So pain had been the point of reference, so to speak, and to be free of that, but the pain this time was of a different nature. Probably the most natural one when facing death, but not through being sick, but just natural. No real attachments around me, no point of reference, like having ended up in a total strange and unfamiliar world, and probably the same when we were born and coming into this foreign world. I realized that all my writings in the last 40 years had to do with being an educational program in regards how to live in this foreign world, and which had helped tremendously. In my writings I also refer to inner silent prayer and meditation being connected to my two missing pieces that had, without me realizing, taken over my entire life, and now I was completely lost. I could intellectually all give it a place, me just being a vehicle, and not even me, but the body, and the transformation of the mind that was also not mine, and which had changed through inner silent prayer and meditation. Was it finally the end? But the struggle with the inner silent prayer and meditation, which always was a struggle, but a comfort, but this time not even that. And I realized that I was still referring to me. Me, the illusion, was struggling, and I had it even make clear to myself, and had gone so far, not even calling the soul within my soul or my spiritual path, and this had taken out any comfort out of the way, which I probably still needed. I looked back at all different paths, and there was the referring to my soul or spirit, and my teacher and my faith, my original abode and my home, being with my Creator divine and my God. This was probably done to give us, being the illusion, some comfort, and also something to work for. My teacher, my path, my prayer, my meditation, and my relationship with God. For without this personalization, probably no one would have ever even started. Realizing that the two pieces, the long-term job and the relationship related to the spiritual path, were permanent as long as I would be in this physical body, But the two missing pieces I was looking for in regards the world didn't really happen in the last 40 years, as it had been different relationships and different jobs in different places in the world. So here I was again 40 years later, and having to come to terms that the worldly two pieces were not meant for me, and had no idea yet how I could connect to this world, other than to be of use where I was. My earthly connection had always been a combination between having family, children, or real friends around me, in combination with sports, fitness, and jobs. Trusting the book of life, I was here to make inventory, to start different ways to keep this body fit, different ways of nourishing the body, reorganizing my life work, experiencing my unstable state of being, and seeing what comes next. The future would tell. And the future that would tell was there already the next day, for it all intensified, and me realizing again that nothing was mine and that I was an illusion. But, as stated before, I was looking for some connection and comfort in the world, and which would have just been putting some band-aids on the pain and struggle. As long as I kept referring to me and my pain and my life and my struggle, it would be mine, and living in separation. For it was about me and life and me and my teacher, or me and meditation, or me and God. And then there are two. There was only one. Then the real deeper understanding came that 40 years ago I had not received my two missing pieces of my life cake. The two pieces were the cake, and the rest was fake, an illusion. This was the lifeline, the only something that could become real. And the only way to tune into this was just to sit for inner silent prayer and meditation as much as I could, and replacing the thoughts with the prayer during the day when the mind was not required to focus on something worldly. All the moments of experiencing that something real came before me, moments and evidence we all have, a moment of total peace, contentment, total acceptance, or being in the zone and not existing and being out of the way. The two pieces were the cake, and such a great gift. And that was the cake I needed to be even more busy with, get even more focused with, and the rest would fall in place.